A new sports car launch is always something to get excited about, lalong-lalo na if it's coming from a brand like this. Of course, a new Ferrari launch will always be worth the celebration, but a new front-engine soft-top Ferrari, well, that's something you don't see every day. This is the brand new Ferrari Roma Spider, which also happens to be the first front-engine soft-top Ferrari in 54 years.
Yeah, and I think that 54-year gap was quite a worthwhile wait because arguably, at least to my eyes, this is one of the most beautiful Ferraris to ever come out of Maranello ever since the 458 back in 2009. So you have this gorgeous long hood, the short rear deck, and by the way, you have 20-inch wheels in this car, which inside those wheels are carbon ceramic brakes, which will be really good when you take this car out on track. So this, by the way, is a folding soft top as opposed to the previous Portofino in California, which had a folding metal roof. And I think that the fabric folding roof looks much better and more elegant compared to the previous setup. And basically, just take a look at the car. I'm gonna shut up for a moment here and just appreciate the beauty that the Ferrari Roma is able to deliver.
Of course, as with every Ferrari, itong Roma Spider is highly bespoke, which means pwede mo tong i-customize to your heart's content. Oh, and speaking of which, the Ferrari Roma Spider starts at around 29 million pesos. But itong model na nakikita nyo has been spec to more than 34 million pesos.
Yeah, so now we're here inside the new Ferrari Roma Spider, and as you're gonna see, the interior is very special, very beautifully crafted, and filled with a lot of premium material. So all the surfaces here are covered either in leather or in very lovely Alcantara. There's also a lot of tech stuff happening here in the car's interior. So as you're gonna see, there are 3 screens, by the way. One for the driver, one for the main infotainment system, and also one for the front passenger, which displays stuff like the driver information, the speed you're going through, the current gear you're in. Basically, it's an extension of the driver's display for the front passenger. And then as for the main infotainment itself, it's sakto lang. I think it's not the best, especially at 30 million pesos. Well, sa totoo lang, the BMW stuff, the Audi, the Benz stuff, in terms of the infotainment, are actually far better than this. Pero, again, this is a Ferrari, so, and yeah, I'm pretty sure you bought this car for the driving experience and not the tech that you're getting. As you're also gonna see, you have this digital driver's display for the, well, of course, for the driver. And there's no stocks to speak of as usual with the Ferrari, so wala ka ng mga wiper stocks, signal stocks. What you have here instead is everything is in the steering wheel to control the wipers, the headlights, and it's a mixture of capacitive touch and physical buttons. Speaking of physical buttons, by the way, yung kanyang engine start-stop is actually a capacitive touch thing din. I'd rather have nga lang this one to be a button so that there's gonna be this tactile feel whenever you start up the car. So other stuff worth talking about, by the way, is yung kanyang gear selector sa gitna, which is a bit, well, it looks interesting and something that you're gonna get used to eventually as you own this car in the coming years and months. So we're not here to just admire the looks of the car, we're also here to, of course, drive the Ferrari Roma Spider. So let's get on the road and yeah. So yeah, interesting control layout as you're gonna see. I pressed the steering wheel button for the turn signals and then wow. And to drive a Ferrari na nakabukas ng bubong, isn't that part of anyone's bucket list in their life, huh? So I'm gonna be honest with you, I probably won't be doing this review any justice because of just how emotionally evocative this car is. And what you're gonna be interested to find out, of course, is how does this car perform here in these twisty roads. So sa totoo lang, we're not in a public road. This is actually a road na private and, well, heavily binabantayan ng law enforcement, of course. So we're not gonna be really able to max this car out. But you have to remember that this is a Ferrari and everything is theatrical with this car. The steering feel is really telepathically good in terms of the way it feels so connected at these speeds pa lang. And of course, that V8, that 3.9-liter twin-turbo V8 sounds really good. So you're gonna be surprised at how linear the power delivery is of this V8 engine, because Ferrari has done some tuning with the turbo engines, or rather the turbochargers of this car, in that they don't deliver the full boost agad-agad, but rather preserving some of that boost, the higher RPM ranges, para you're encouraged to rev this engine as opposed to, you know, delivering all of that torque, that low-end torque in one instant. Yeah, of course, body roll is really excellent in this car. The body control is really good. Despite being a convertible, the chassis is so rigid. Ang ganda ng chassis rigidity niya, and with the adaptive suspension, by the way, like a lot of cars with such a suspension setup, you're able to, you know, we just went through a bit of corrugations there, and the Ferrari Roma Spider dealt with that really well. But if you tweak the Manetino switch ngayon sa kanyang steering wheel and put the car in sport or even race mode, yan, now I've switched the car to race mode and the exhaust should sound much more lively. Again, that steering wheel talaga in Ferrari, the steering is just so telepathically good. It's really connected. Talagang even minute changes sa kanyang direction mo sa steering wheel, there's really tactility and direct connection to the way the steering feels with this car. Again, I must apologize. It's gonna be hard for me to do justice to this review since this car hasn't been launched yet as of this moment that we're driving the car. Pero dude, even dito pa lang, this car just really feels so good. It's gonna be a high benchmark for me, especially after driving this car. And normally, I'm not a fan of convertibles, except for the Mazda MX-5, but I'm surprised at how approachable this Ferrari Roma is to drive, especially considering the amount of power you have. But the good thing about here is, yung kanyang power isn't intimidating in the way it delivers all of that power. It's really easy to control, easy to modulate, and thus as a result, this Ferrari Roma feels very much like a Ferrari that you can use on a daily basis. It's also worth noting that its 8-speed dual clutch transmission is very obedient. It doesn't have nga that crawl function that usually other DCTs tend to have these days. So if you're gonna be driving this car in traffic, you're really gonna have to put a bit of gas in order for you to start moving or even just achieve a crawling pace. So this pretty much feels like a true semi-automatic by nature in terms of the way it behaves, but smoothness-wise, it's top-notch. Ang sobrang smooth niya even at city speeds. So I've left the car ngayon in pure automatic mode, and even at that mode, ang obedient niya, it doesn't shiver, it doesn't shudder or feel indecisive. It's really a natural feeling DCT, even at low speeds. But seriously, I'm on an emotional high right now because it's my first time behind the wheel of a Ferrari. There's a perception that you should never meet your heroes, but personally though, I'm more of a Porsche fan. I'm a huge Porsche guy in terms of my dream cars, but driving this Ferrari Roma Spider, even in this half-day drive, wow! I'm thankful. I'm very grateful for, of course, you viewers for enabling me to be able to experience this. And yeah, again, I really thank you viewers as well because of course without your support this wouldn't have been possible, these opportunities. But wow, I'm really thankful. But yeah, here we are now telling to you Filipino viewers what the Ferrari Roma Spider is like to own and to aspire to own one in, of course, your lifetime. So we're currently traveling at 50 kph, and then now let's put the top up. And you'd actually be surprised, by the way, that the Ferrari Roma feels very refined actually in terms of the wind noise suppression. I've essentially turned this car now into a Grand Tourer. Well, so totoo lang, kahit naman with the top up, it pretty much feels like a Grand Tourer because of how supple the suspension is. So let's now put the car in comfort mode. So the exhaust quietens down a bit, the steering becomes even lighter. Though still, wow, still very extremely responsive and very telepathic yung pagka-granular nung how precise the steering feels. Again, I've left the DCT in pure automatic mode, and the DCT feels very obedient, very relaxed. Hindi siya confused. Like, sige, I'm gonna slow down a bit. Okay. There's no hesitation. Let's say, according to traffic pa rin tayo. Feels very obedient even on DCT, even at low speed. So really the benchmark talaga in DCTs for me is Porsche and Ferrari. And it's really just proof that the Chinese brands really still have a long way whenever it comes to their DCTs. Well, of course, Porsche, Ferrari, that's really on another level compared to GAC, of course, or those Chinese brands. But yun nga, just wow guys, this Ferrari is really amazing to drive. Even here at these docile city speeds, even with the bumps, sa totoo lang, I'm really surprised that despite the low profile tires, it's dealing with bumps really well. It's a really, really amazing car. A dream come true, even if it's just for half a day, to have the Ferrari with me for that long period of a time. And so to those who's gonna be able to afford to own such a car, well, I'm gonna be really happy for you. If you're gonna be one of those falling in line for this Ferrari Roma Spider, it's gonna be 29 million pesos at the very least well spent.
Oh, so you're asking me about adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking, and all those stuff. Well, yeah. Tong Ferrari Roma has that as an option. Pero let's be honest, did you really buy a Ferrari for those features? Okay, so the blind spot warning and rear cross traffic alert is very useful, especially kung naka-deploy yung bubong. But in all honesty, buying a Ferrari would always be the driving pleasure, the theater, and basically the evocative sensations you can only get in a Ferrari. For most of us, wala tayong 29 million pesos. And it's cars like these that basically keep us motivated, and to a degree, imaginative and creative as well. Dream come true? Absolutely. And hopefully to those who can afford one as well.